Uh, I expected as much, but oh man, Javier Romello is the original idea, so he's who we should blame for this. All right, I need a second to recover here. All right, so for those who haven't reached the end of a game on stream before, I'm a big believer in credit where credit's due. As heartbreaking as this scene is to look at, so I always let the credits roll on stream, and then what I'll generally do is take this time to give not necessarily a review, but like an initial reflection on how I felt about a game. And I think you can tell from the tone of my voice and the sniffling that it is an emotional gut punch of an ending. Overall, it's a fantastic game. I think all things told, it took us about what 4.5 hours or so to beat this. I'm sure some people can probably beat it faster. Maybe a little slower if you stretch out a lot of those nights. We never did find that final skill for the Arctic Fox. It's an incredible game. I had wondered how they'd pull off the theme of like post-apocalypse and ecological disaster and how that would affect animals like this and how it would affect us as humans. And it's a triumph when it comes to package that all together. I think the gameplay loop is something that it's you risk as much as you look to. I do think one thing that maybe hurts it a little is the fact that essentially you always just restart the night. I'm sure those of you who are watching through most of the playthrough saw how we'd kind of like fail something, go back, try it a different way. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but it did, I think, diminish a little bit of the impact. That said, the death animations for the Mother Fox getting killed in those scenarios are absolutely brutal, so that still has an impact. But yeah, I just the way it's all packaged together and oh here we go. At least we know we raised them right? They'll still make it. Right? They have to. Yeah, and oh wow. That's yeah, that's almost like a not a reward, but a heck of an ending screen then of where the Mother Fox went down and nature and in the background nuclear reactors. I think that's the other thing too is I try not to do this, but for some titles I can't help it. If I'm gonna stream something, I know if I'm gonna stream it from start to end. I try to avoid reviews of it if I know I'm gonna play it no matter what. And I knew I was gonna play this, right? Unless I heard from someone like, hey, the whole thing's like completely terrible and all that. But the demo for it and everything had already shown that like proof of concept they were gonna do a fairly good job with it. And one of the complaints that I did see was about it being like very kind of hit you over the head. But I don't know. I felt like because of how much you control the exploration and where you go at any given time, um, I don't think it was quite that bad to me in terms of that. I think to your point, Lexi, like I think it's a smart way of telling a story like this because so much of what you're going to experience, what you're going to see, is depending on the paths you take. Right? It's obviously a linear game in that sense. You're going to get to this ending, um, and you know, I got to this ending with all the kits, and from my understanding, you cannot get to the ending with all of them alive. Um, so there's definitely differences in how you'll get to this, or even get to, I don't know what it does if you lose the last kit. Like, do you get a chance? Does it respawn the last night? I don't know how it works. Like, honestly, I don't know how any of that works. Um, but definitely some replay value, I'd actually say, if you don't get everything. Like, I didn't get that last skill related to the traps, so I could replay this and see, like, oh, could we get an ending where we actually get them everything before it ends? And I don't know if that changes anything. Um, I don't really know how that works, right? I don't know how it works if you don't get all the cents to get back the one that was stolen. Like, it seems like there's some, you know, depending on your playthrough and how much you discover the first time, there might be some replay value for that. I don't even know that it's with only three. From I saw some screenshots where you would see little like skull icons, and it was more than just the one that was missing. So because keep in mind, I always had the hunger meter like pretty well done. I think if the hunger meter is completely drained and you don't feed them, I think they start to die off one by one. I think. I don't know for sure, right? I didn't see that. And I wouldn't necessarily play this specifically to get them killed. There's no way I could do that. I wouldn't do that for science. I would look it up. Um, so yeah, I don't know how brutal of an ending this can get for people. Um, but that said, you know, if you do everything in one go, if you get all the skills, you get out with all of them alive. About a 4.5 hour game. You know, that's everyone has their own different price points for that, but uh, especially if you're getting this on console, I highly recommend it. On PC, I have run into some like optimization issues. Because for context, I'm running a 3080 graphics card with a 5900X for the CPU. Even with like as beautiful of a game as this is, the settings that I put it at, it should have been able to handle that no problem, just aiming for 60 frames. So I think there's still a little bit of tweaking that I have to do. I think some of you saw earlier too when I was going through the different scenes, replaying like the scent trails that we picked up. Not all of those were loading correctly. I think that was another thing. Towards the end there, it like fully froze and then kept going. So there's a couple things that they probably, you know, one or two patches will probably smooth out. So if you're looking at it on PC, yeah, you might want to hold off. Just let that stuff kind of clean it up a little. Um, but even with those hiccups, uh, like I haven't played a lot of new releases this year, so you know, take this with a grain of salt. But for me, anyways, this is in the running for like personal game of the year. Um, there's a few things I haven't touched. The big hitters like Elden Ring stuff like that I haven't touched. So you know, I can only speak to what I've played. Um, but this is definitely something that's going to stay with me for a while, and in a way, I hope like what they're trying to accomplish, because it certainly is something I'm thinking of, is that this gets the message across to people about what's happening in our world, um, and trying to make changes while we still can. And that, especially Lexi, that is one of the smartest things with the storytelling, right? Is the way the world evolves as you play. You know, there's so many games we play where like the world evolves based on your actions, right? It's very reactive to what you're doing. This takes it out of your hands, and that's kind of the point, right? That's kind of the story they're trying to tell, and what you're encountering. Um, and they do it really well. They do it really, really well. Um, so yeah, I'm very glad that I got this and got to play it at launch like this, and experience it. Yeah, you're just living through it. Well, you're just trying to survive, right? Um, and that's where I say like maybe there could be some more like penalties without a full like nightly reset, because it did feel like in a lot of ways it was letting me get a perfect run as I went. Like, because anytime we messed up and got killed, we just went to the beginning of the night and we were able to redo it. And I wonder if there might be a way that they could introduce like a tweak to that of like, oh, maybe she's even more injured throughout, or this thing. Like the way that we had that gash on the side from the encounter with the furrier. I don't know. Like that would be difficult. What I would say is if they ever made another game like this, that might be like one of the areas of improvement kind of thing. I don't know how how willing I'd be to play it right away. I would honestly, I would just to experience it. But oof. So that is, yeah, that is Endling in a nutshell.